Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Life in Sport podcast. And we're joined by a really ripper guest. We've been doing a lot of different episodes this last few weeks, so this is our first interview episode for a while. Luke Bateman, former Raiders player, former Mount Pritchard Mounties, winner Manly Seagulls, you name it, he's played for him. He's joining us today for a chinwag. First of all, mate, thank you for joining us. And how was your weekend?
Yeah, g'day. No, thanks for having me on, mate. Weekend was awesome, actually. Yeah, didn't not a whole lot. Obviously, Mother's Day on Sunday, so
Yeah.
just spent the day with the old girl and had a bit of footy on Saturday that I was watching, and yeah, she's pretty cruisy to be fair.
Yeah, nice. That's good. That's good to hear. So obviously, let's get stuck into it. First question is the same question I ask every guest, and it's what's your earliest memory? So obviously, you're from Toowoomba, a very,
Uh,
very rugby league crazy area. Or you from somewhere
and
else?
I'm born in
Okay.
Toowoomba, but grew up in Miles, so we which is about another 2.5 hours further west than Toowoomba. So
Okay. Well, then, even more so rugby league mad than you would say.
yeah,
So, what's your earliest memory of rugby league in miles then?
Mate, I'd probably say I played under sixes when I was four. So
Okay.
yeah, so I think I remember I've actually got a photo. My mum has a photo of my first game. It was me and my brother
Yep.
in the Miles Devils jersey. So I can't, mate. I can't say I remember it myself, but when I look at that photo and see it, that's sort of probably the first memory that I ever have of sort of rugby league as such. So as you said,
That's
sort
ripper.
of mate, Western Queensland, like it's mate,
It's a whole different, no pun intended. It's a whole different ball game out there.
yeah, mate, rugby league sort of it's everything out there. So yeah,
No, that's awesome to hear. And obviously, growing up in a footy mad town, what team did you follow growing up?
mate, I followed the Broncos growing up, obviously, because back in the day, if you're sort of
Yeah,
Queensland, especially sort of Western Queensland, it was just the Broncos were your team sort of thing. So I think I followed the Broncos till I was probably about like 8 or 9. And then it's funny, I started following the Eels simply
oh, okay,
I got given a like a Parramatta Eels hat.
okay.
And I wore it every day to school. So I was just sort of like I was on board the Eels train for a bit, simply just because I wore to school.
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
That's actually really interesting. Because yeah, as you said, Western Queensland, and you got mainly the Broncos and maybe the Cowboys, maybe
Yeah, yeah.
stipulated, but Titans weren't really a thing. Well, or
Totally.
they were in their infancy at least, and then yeah, that's really interesting. The Eels of all bloody teams, but that's all right. Obviously,
Yeah.
your junior footy was obviously with the Miles Devils and eventually South Logan Magpies, which is a
Yeah.
bit of a move from Miles, obviously, all the way to South Logan. What was that move like for you?
Mate, it was I moved down to Brizzy when I was just turning 15.
Hmm.
So but that sort of came about through the Raiders at the time, because obviously back then the Raiders were affiliated with South Logan.
Yep,
So I'd signed a contract, a junior contract, obviously,
yep,
with the Raiders, and they were sort of like, to advance your footy and get you into, better systems and better development. We want to bring you down to Brizzy, down to South Logan. So
yep.
they said, that back then that the Cyril Connor, which is the under 16s,
Yep,
was under
that's
17.
it. Yep.
It had just come in, and the Melbourne Ingo, and they sort of said, they want to get you down into these programs and these systems. So, So I mean, at the time, the decision was fairly easy. Like footy was,
Yeah.
what I wanted to do, and that was the pathway. So, but moving out it was a bit of a shock, as you can imagine, moving from a town of 1,000 people.
Yep.
My school, I think my primary school was like 120, and then high school was pretty similar, like 120 kids. So
Yep.
coming down to a school where you had probably double that, just in your age group
Yeah,
alone.
just in your grade. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a bit of a shock. And I remember, coming down. Sort of, I was pretty fortunate though. Obviously, being sporty and into footy, like it sort of gets you into a sort of streamline, just straight into a crew of
Yeah,
sort of
like you've got a friend group sort of waiting
yeah,
for you, sort of thing. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. So you just sort of slip straight into that. So it was it was an eye opener in many senses as a young kid, but yeah, it's probably as smooth a transition as you can probably have at that stage, I reckon.
Yeah, fair. Well, that's obviously all you could ask for, and all you could parents could ask for as well. Obviously, you got an upgrade in the contract to the Raiders to the NYC side in
Mm.
2013, 2015, from 2013 through to 2015.
And,
Um, obviously at that point you would have been asked to, I'm guessing, go down to Canberra, you know.
Yeah.
And again, what was that like moving from the comforts of home in Queensland down to cold, windy, bloody Canberra, basically? We've teamed up with Shore Power, your solar, PV, and battery experts servicing Newcastle, the Hunter, Central Coast, and Lake Macquarie, providing the highest quality work installing leading brands at an affordable price point. Some of the services they provide include installation of solar PV, solar batteries, and general electrical work. For a free quote, email Shorepower at Wyatt, WYATT, at shorepower.net, or contact them on 0403 713 337. Make sure to tell them that Life in Sport sent you.
Mate, yeah, obviously, like the plan was, finish school, move to Canberra, so that sort of all came about, and moved down there. I remember I graduated school on Friday,
Yep.
went to the Gold Coast for schoolies on Saturday night,
Yep.
and then back to Brisbane Sunday, and got in my car Monday and drove to Canberra because they were sort of like, yeah. I said to them, I
Like,
said,
we want you here for preseason.
I was like, can I have a week at schoolies? And they were like, nah, mate, you're here for preseason.
Geez, so you didn't even get the schoolies experience, just one day worth of
I
schoolies.
got one night at schoolies. But anyway, so yeah, so moved down, and that was end of 2012.
Yeah.
Canberra, mate, I immediately like loved Canberra. Obviously, being a country bloke, like
it is very country vibes down there.
Yeah, not the big city. There wasn't the hustle and bustle, no traffic. Sort of, it suited me.
A lot of roundabouts.
Yeah, a lot of roundabouts. Yeah. No, it suited me to a T, mate. I sort of love Canberra instantly, and still, I still think it's a fantastic city. I don't think it deserves the criticism that it cops, actually.
That's fair enough. It is very country. It's a lot more. I was born in Queensland myself, but raised unfortunately down in New South Wales on the Central Coast.
Yeah.
But I like to, because I've been to Canberra quite a lot myself, and I like to compare it to the Central Coast. It's not, like you said, it's not like the big city, but it's also big enough to sustain itself at the same time. It's nothing busy bullshit like Sydney, but it's also something's going on anyway, sort of thing.
Oh, mate, it's somebody said, like government there, so everyone's got coin, like the socio demographic of it all is just it's really nice actually, and it's really come up like even since the time I moved there in 2012 to when I left in 2020, like it changed massively, like the dining and the whining and dining scene of Canberra.
Yeah, well, even the light rail that was built there as well.
The what? Sorry,
the light rail, like the tram system and stuff that was built there as well.
100%. Yeah, actually, it's honestly, it's awesome, and obviously because the federal government are right there, so they look after their own.
Yeah, they would. Yeah. They would. Which I don't blame them. I really don't.
No, exactly.
Obviously, being named in the under-20s Queensland side for the first time in 2013, what was that like? And, what was going into camp with your fellow Queenslanders like?
Mate, it's pretty daunting at that stage, actually, because I was only 18. I'd been playing SG ball, so I hadn't even been playing NYC when I got in that team. Yeah. So it was a bit of it was a sort of a bit unexpected, I would say. But yeah, got picked in that team. Went in. I was lucky. I sort of went in with a number of blokes that already I knew sort of through the junior grades playing in Queensland. Blokes like Branko Lee, Anthony Milford. I think like Paddy Mago was probably part of that squad. Like a lot of blokes knew Corey Oates, so blokes like that. They were fellas who I'd sort of played all my juniors and been in representative teams with come through juniors. So it was pretty good. Went into camp, from memory, Andrew Doonerman was our coach actually that year. Great bloke, and it was a great camp. And then we got absolutely fucking towed in the game. So
yeah, you did, unfortunately. Which unfortunately, while New South Wales, the men's
36-12, I think.
It was something like that, yeah. And I did some research, and the 3 years that you played for Queensland in the under-20s, you couldn't cop a win. However, in the NRL State of Origin, it was the opposite. The Blues just couldn't bloody get the win.
Yeah. I think we've always been a bit that way in Queensland. Like the juniors Like we don't win many junior origins, and then sort of you get to the top level,
Well, because I don't mean to be rude, but it only matters in the NRL. Don't get me
yeah,
wrong, it does matter in the junior reps, absolutely. But
no, that's
you
right.
play for the state of origin NRL more so.
Yeah, oh mate, 100%. That's right. No one's going to the pub going like, "Oh, we won the bloody under 16 state of origin."
Exactly. However, though, I mean, it's probably only Mitchell Moses's, and I'm about to bring that up for a reason in particular. As I'm sure you're aware in a second. I did some digging. Obviously, Mitchell Moses, it's his only claim to fame right now is having won the under 20 state of origin. He hasn't got another trophy to his name. And in your second year in 2014 with Queensland, I'm not going to say the words, but he had some very choice words for you in a sledge during the game. How did you handle that? Because he also copped a 2-week suspension from that incident.
Yeah, man, it's really funny actually. This comes up like I don't know, it comes up all the time, but it's something that's yeah, like sort of I've been asked about over the years many
Mm-hmm.
times. But man, it's funny because I didn't even hear it at the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't
So
even.
who reported it? Because you're like, I didn't hear it.
Well, it got picked up on the referee's
That's
microphone.
right, it did on the TV.
Yeah, so I got picked up on the referee's microphone. Man, I don't even remember it. And then the next day, it sort of all kicked off, like in the media and everything like that.
Yep.
And yeah, it was a bit of it was a storm in a teacup,
Yeah.
really, to be honest. I think yeah, blown well out of proportion,
Yeah.
made a mountain out of a molehill. But yeah, but Mitch got bloody 2 weeks for it, which I can understand. But
Yeah.
I remember ringing him up, and I was like, "Oh mate, like it's all good, like yeah."
Yeah, you're like, I didn't even hear it, bro.
Yeah, I was like, "Mate, it's all good." Yeah, we were sweet. There was as I said, it was just a storm in a teacup. So
No,
yeah.
that's good to hear. That's good to hear. Obviously, your first grade debut came in 2015 against the Sharks at Shark Park, getting the win. Do you remember much of it? And if so, what was it like?
Mate, I remember all of it actually.
Yeah, Ripper.
Yeah, no,
Well, tell us about the lead up, like the week before, like the week leading into it and everything.
yeah. Well, so the week leading up, obviously, we had we'd done preseason. I think that was maybe my second full preseason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that might have been my second full preseason, or the year before I might have done till Christmas or something. But anyway, so done the full preseason and played in the trials, and I'd gone well in the trials. But Shawnee Fenton was obviously the long time lock at the time, but he was coming back from an ACL.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he sort of spent the whole preseason in rehab. He was right for round one, but Sticky came up to me and he was sort of like, "Oh, mate, if I asked you today whether you thought you were ready to play in the NRL, what would you say?" And I was sort of like, "Oh,
Let's go.
I was like, is this a trick question? Like,
Yeah.
if I say yes, and he's like, well, you're not fucking ready, I'll be like, all right. But no, I just sort of said, oh, mate, look, I think, I think I'd handle it. And he said, oh, well, that's good. He goes, because you're playing this weekend.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah. So they sort of put me on the bench just as a backup for Shawnee because he obviously had missed most of the preseason with his ACL rehab.
Yep.
So they were just a bit worried about him getting through the 80 minutes. So they chucked me on the bench just to sort of cover some back end minutes. And it was pretty funny. I don't think I wasn't on the team list.
Mm.
And I think it was meant to be a bit of a secret. But that Big Dane Tilsey at the time,
Yep.
he did a radio interview sort of leading into the game. And they asked him about Shawnee Fenton. They sort of said, oh, mate, how's Fano's like fitness looking? And he goes, oh yeah, he's looking good, but it doesn't matter because we got Lukey Bateman on the bench. He'll be able to cover him.
Oh, jeez, stitched
The
up.
big Chelsea just spilt the secret on radio, but
Yep.
anyway, yeah. And they went up to Sydney. Obviously the day before, and it was pretty cruisy to be fair. Similar, and then played the game. I got on for the last 15 minutes and run around like a headless chook. I don't think
Was
I
your
did.
family down there?
Yeah, family was there. Yeah, no, family was all there. So mum, dad, and siblings and everything were all there. So it was awesome. It was far from my best game of rugby league ever, or a notable on-field performance. But
Yep.
yeah, mate, the whole thing was awesome. That's as a kid from Western Queensland who'd played footy since I was 4 years old and had always dreamt of being in the NRL. To make it is sort of the culmination of 16 years work at that point in time and a lifetime of dreaming till then. So yeah, it's probably hard to put into words there. Yeah, it's hard to sort of describe that feeling and experience. It's very very surreal, very surreal. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, I've had the privilege of interviewing a lot of former NRL players and current NRL players, etc., and they all have, sort of said one thing in common, and it's the debut. It literally is the quickest thing on earth. It's literally
Yeah.
in the entire week, the day of the game, all of it. Even if whether they play the whole game, or, because maybe a starting winger or something, or it's from the bench. It's literally they said it all slows down from there, sort of thing. It's just the fastest motion of the process of the game week of the debut. Would you agree with that? Do you reckon?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, 100%. Like it's sort of, I think you're so overwhelmed with sort of everything at the time. It's just hard to even really sort of grasp like the reality of it all in
Yeah,
your head.
like this is happening. Holy shit!
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, exactly. After years of wanting to get there, then you're there and you're like, oh shit, is it like this is real? You know what I mean? Yeah,
yeah. Okay.
yeah.
No,
So
that's
it is,
awesome.
yeah, as I said, it's very surreal. Like it's hard to sort of yeah, it's hard to grasp at that time, sort of what you're experiencing.
Yeah, fair. And
Mm.
obviously, a few years at the Raiders, it came to an end, unfortunately, because from what my research may be wrong. A knee injury in 2019 brought that season to a premature end for you.
Yeah.
And you, from what I've read, opted to head back up to Queensland. And first of all, how is that for you, given that we didn't even know that COVID was just around the corner a year later?
Mate, well, it was actually COVID. So what happened was is that 2019 I was off contract and I did my
Mm-hmm.
neck, and obviously doing a sort of season-ending injury
And being off contract.
and being off contract is a death sentence in the NRL,
Yeah.
especially when that year your team playing the grand
Grand
final.
final. Yeah. Yeah.
So you're not even playing. Everyone else is in the GF, and you're off
And
contract.
they're in
So
their form as well. Yeah, there's no
yeah,
way you're getting a look in.
that's right. Yeah. So, mate, tough position to be in, but signed a 1 year deal. And I was like, right, I'll sign a 1 year contract. I'll get my knee right, rehab this knee, come back, play good footy, force my way back into the team.
Yeah.
Um, that was sort of the mindset, but it
Yeah.
wasn't.
It's good mindset
Mate, yeah, yeah. It was a good plan at the time. Unfortunately, didn't foresee COVID.
because COVID had other plans for everyone.
Yeah, that's right. So COVID came in, mate. I was only about, I think we'd played the round one of the NRL season had
Oh,
been
there was
played.
2 rounds. Yeah.
There's two.
Yeah.
Okay, so they played the first 2 rounds, and I was about like a fortnight, 2 or 3 weeks away from like coming back. Yeah.
All
I was
right.
like the light was at the end of the tunnel,
Yeah.
and then COVID hit, and like everything, like obviously nobody knew what was going on. The NRL were like,
Yeah.
we don't even know whether we'll get a game played. So I sort of got put in the position because we shut down. So I come back to Queensland.
Yeah. Well,
Sort of,
even Corey went back up to Queensland as well for a
yeah,
bit.
mate, everyone sort of because we were like, well,
What the fuck do
like
we do?
mate, we that at that point, like when it first got shut down, it was literally like it probably there won't be a season.
Yeah.
Like it's sort of like yeah, like we don't know what's going to happen. And then so everyone was like, well, fuck this, I'm
Yeah,
getting.
Corey went home. Yeah, because I spoke to
I
Corey
was,
as well that year, and Dynamis as well. Yeah,
yeah, no, I
everyone
was
headed
just like,
home.
I've got a mortgage to pay. Like I've got bills. I've got car repayments. Like I was like, I've got to go earn some money if it's
Work, yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
I've got to pay
I
the
mean,
bill.
Tommy Flegler worked on his parents' banana farm in that
Mate,
time.
yeah, I come home and I went back out west,
Yep.
working with my old man because he cuts timber. So when I was cutting timber with him, and then they were sort of like there was talk. So then it sort of got back going,
Yeah.
and they were like, righto, we're gonna get
Well,
back.
luckily you were still able to keep fit by doing the labor sort of thing.
Yeah. We were still training. I think everyone was sort of still training.
Anyone come back fat instead of fit? And if so,
Uh,
who?
mate, not that I remember. I don't think it actually ended up because it only ended up being about like 4 to 6 weeks of
Yeah,
like
something like that.
yeah. So it wasn't actually that long. So I
Okay.
don't think it gave too many boys too much time to sort of
Who
pack
you
on.
reckon would have if they had the time?
Oh mate, my best mate Shannon Boyd,
Yeah.
he was a special for it, mate. He could pack weight on just like that. Like
Yeah.
yeah, big
Okay.
boy. Papa used to like coming back a bit out of shape. But yeah, nah,
Yeah.
mate,
Okay. So continue.
really good. But yeah, no, you're right. Yeah, so so we sort of like it was, the comp got back up and going. I was like, right, we're in a bubble. Everyone's wage is being cut by like 52%. There
Yeah.
was all this sort of like we don't know, like that. It was just so much, and I was just sort of like, well, like there's only 6 months left of my contract.
Mm.
I haven't at this stage, like I was like, I haven't played a game of footy for over 12 months.
Yep.
The chances of me getting back into a team,
That's
uh,
just played in the grand final the year
playing grand
before.
final, I was like, this is all pointing towards not ending well as such.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I made like I was like, Stafford, like I'll cop make the tough decision, finish up with footy, and I had obviously I was working with my old man, so I was like, I'll go, just continue to work with him.
Yep.
Then it got to 2021, and the couple of my mates were playing for Wynnum.
Yep.
So yeah, so went and sort of started back up there and played a year with them.
And how was that? I was literally going to say, yeah, you ended up at Wynnum
Yeah,
Manly after that. What was that like?
yeah. It was funny because I was done with footy. I was like, nah, sort of because I was working and just sort of like into sort of into a different lifestyle and routine. And I was sort of like, oh no, I'm done with this. Now and then I had a heap of mates like, oh, Beto, we got a good team at Wynnum this year. Like we're a chance. Like come back. And I'm Denard, and I went sat down with Adam Brydson and Hayden Laban, who were the CEO and the head coach there at the time, and I sort of spoke to him about where I was at and sort of what I sort of my thoughts around it, and they were they were awesome. And off the bat, Brighto, the head coach, he was incredible, and I was just like, oh, righto, that's turned me. I'll come and jump in with you. So had the season there, mate. Loved it, absolutely loved it. Really brought my love for the game back to me, actually.
Yeah, that's what you love to hear.
Yeah, it did. Like, had such a good year, and it's just I think Queensland Cup is just like the most pure
It
level of
is.
football, mate. It's just pure. Like, it's you still got most of the blokes are tradies, like the boys, working. So the boys roll in, like they'll spend their day on the tours, roll into training. Like, it's still just that good footy. It's not as quick, not as
Not as flash.
yeah, not as flash, not as like heavily refereed. It's just it's sort of free flowing, and it's a great level of footy, and it brought my love for the game back, actually, and I really enjoyed myself and had a terrific year. And probably played some of the footy that I was personally the happiest with in my entire life. So yeah, it was
That's
good.
awesome.
Yeah, and then finished up that year, and mate, it was sort of I was getting on. I was 28. And I was sort of like, oh, do I still, I didn't want to be, I didn't want to be one of those blokes who was sort of like 33.
Doesn't know when to call it quits, sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I had other things going on, and I'd sort of, and footy was starting to become something, footy was starting to become something that was sort of detrimental, took away from, I was trying to achieve other things, and footy was sort of becoming detrimental.
A hindrance, yeah.
And my knee, and mate, my knee was still busted, and I was just like, mate, I need to step away here, yeah. So that was,
I don't blame you at all.
yeah, mate, had a fantastic year. It was a great way for me to finish my career. Actually, obviously, we lost the grand final, which would have been,
I mean, if that isn't fitting because the Raiders lost in 2019 and then you go out similar away almost. I know that sounds awful, but yeah.
So so mate, it was a sort of a great end.
But then again, that North side was insane. They went. I don't know if it was against North, but they went on to win the year after that as well. They went back to back, didn't they?
They went back to back, mate. Yeah, a few blokes from that team picked up like NRL contracts. They had an awesome team. Yeah, credit to them. No, they did really well. Yeah, 100%.
Nah, that's fair. Obviously, after your time in football, a little thing called The Bachelor came up in the office. How did that come about? And talk to me about that experience of reality TV.
It was great. I actually like anybody. As I always say, if anybody you ever get the chance to do it, like jump at it with take it with both hands, because it was an incredible experience and an amazing time. It sort of came about. I was I'd obviously retired from footy. I was working with my old man. We were cutting timber out west, and when you live remotely and work remotely, mate, there's not much time to sort of date or meet anyone, and. I had two girlfriends of mine in Brizzy, and they sort of hit me up, and they're like, "Oh, look, you should apply for this." And I was away out west. I was like, I don't even have a computer.
Oh, jeez.
I was like, you girls do the application for me, and like, have some fun with it and whatever you can do that. didn't think much of it. And then a couple of weeks later, get the phone call, and sort of all went from there. And then then went down to Melbourne and filmed it over. It was like a bit over a month,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and filmed it, and it was incredible, mate. It was such an awesome experience. Amazing. It was obviously after playing football most of your life, and being from country. TV and that sort of world is completely alien and
Yeah,
foreign. It was an awesome experience, once in a lifetime. A completely new industry to sort of wrap your head around and be involved in. So it was incredible learning experience, and an incredible personal experience too. Yeah.
that's awesome. That's really awesome. And obviously, you're now with, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm gonna probably butcher his last name, Gillis. That's one of the names. And Shikovsky, is it Shafovsky? I always, everyone says it wrong. But that's sports management. How did you get into that?
Mate, yeah, so it's sort of coming. Obviously, I've known Chalker, Clinton Chavosky. So Steve Gillis actually
Yep,
managed his whole career, and then when Chalk finished his career, they went into business together and created their own
yep.
management
Sports
company.
management. Yep.
Yeah, sports management company. So I've known Chalk since I was sort of a teenager.
Mm-hmm.
Had
Being
a
in the
bit.
Queensland system.
Yeah. He would actually come out and help out with our junior Queensland teams.
Oh,
Actually,
that's awesome.
he would link in and do some coaching and whatnot. Yeah, and just knew him through the management as well side of things. And I was sort of working away, and I was working out west, with my old man, and I just sort of wanted to. I was just, wanted a sort of different lifestyle, because I love
Yep.
it out there, but it's very, you're very remote, and
Yeah.
it's
Very
sort of
isolated sort of thing.
very isolated, very remote. Yeah, you don't see anyone, and you just sort of you live to work in a sense. So
Yeah. Okay.
I just wanted to, and I think after what I'd been through in my whole career, I was very passionate about sort of, young blokes, and helping young fellas out, not just in footy, just in all
Yep.
walks of life.
Just in life. Yeah.
Yeah, just in life, exactly. And I had a lot of people see. A lot of people see NRL player, or Bateman and things like that, and think, oh, this bloke's live a very storied or fairy tale life sort of thing, but
Mm.
hasn't. Very, very opposite from the truth.
Oh,
Sort of,
absolutely. Example, you literally done your knee and you had to go back working for your dad with the timber. Not
yeah,
everyone
yeah,
gets to be, Jonathan Thurston on the
yeah.
TV sort of thing.
No, mate, exactly, 100% right. Yeah, so it's tough, and I think a lot of the lessons, and a lot of my experience and what I've taken away from that, and things I've learned over my period through life and in footy and whatnot, I was very motivated to sort of help young fellas. One, help walk them through the same sort of pathway and experiences, and then also two, just use what I'd sort of learned in my mistakes to sort of help make sure some other young fellas probably don't make the same ones as
Yep.
such. Yeah. So with all that sort of combined, I reached out to Chock, and I sort of said, mate, I'd love to just sit down with you and just pick your brain about sort of how to go about this. And we sat down, and we obviously get along very well too. He's a country Queenslander too, so him and I just sort of hit it off, and we went from there. And over the stage of a couple of months, we sort of put a plan in place, and it's come to fruition now. And I've gone on board full time with him. So really, really excited. That's only been since the start of the year. So still early doors, and still finding my feet in the industry, and learning a lot of things. But so it's really exciting. I'm really keen to see sort of how it unfolds, and really personally excited for to get in to sort of represent some young blokes and get in their corner, and help them out, and and guide them through their careers.
EnrgPro. Experience the fusion of energy and nutrition with EnrgPro. Elevate your hydration game like never before with no added sugar, all natural colors and flavors, and up to 25 grams of protein per serve. Caffeine boosted flavors, on the go protein hydration with the 9 essential BCAAs derived from whey protein isolate. These products are HASTA approved for athletes looking for that edge pre training, during a game, and afterwards for recovery. Embrace a healthier way to energize with a fusion of flavor and function that keeps you moving forward. And don't just take our word for it. Experience the refreshing transformation with EnrgPro. It's not just protein water, it's your new essential ally. Together, let's break barriers and build a future where fitness and wellness are accessible to all. Go to EnrgPro.com.au and use our code LS10 for 10% off at checkout. That's awesome to hear. You know, that really is awesome to hear. And there was actually I saw it on LinkedIn, I think it was yesterday or the day before. There's now actually a athlete well-being and mental wellness certificate like now for rugby league and other sports like it's the first of its kind, at least nationally recognized in Australia. And I thought, that's awesome. I think it was on Keegan Hipgrave's LinkedIn. Him
Yeah.
and Tom Simons, they went to it, and I'm just thinking, this is the bloody future for rugby league. If we're
Yeah.
wanting to keep, young blokes interested in, because obviously physical health takes a toll just as much as mental health does. And, if you've got mental health, you've got physical health, and I think that's absolutely wonderful. And that ties in with what you were saying. You want to help these young kids or young men, you could say, be the absolute best that they can, and yeah, would that be something you'd look into sort of doing, do you reckon?
Mate, 100% actually. Yeah, I know the exact course you're talking about.
Yeah.
I was funny. I was going to do it in 2020, the year that
Yeah.
COVID
COVID
hit.
hit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mate, we were like, I was enrolled in it and everything. And I'm actually, Sammy Williams and Jared Croker,
Yep.
they've done it. Like a couple of the boys I know have been through it. But as you said, it's unbelievable. I think people really, it's easy for fans to see the 80 minutes of football on a weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone, like nobody sees your Monday to Friday. No one sees how hard it
No one
is.
sees the grind.
No one sees the grind. No one sees it like those blokes who are sort of on the fringe and they're in and out and their contracts.
The ones that aren't on millions of dollars or 800,000 a year. The ones that are on $120 or 120,000 or 60,000 a year. Yeah.
No, that's it, and that's right, and it's funny because people go, 120 grand is still a lot of money per year, and you go, yes, absolutely is, but tax, super, managers fees, like everything comes out of that too.
Rent if you're renting or mortgage, and then if you add, you've got misso and kids, you've got to add that. Then you've got to add schooling, and then them playing sports, everything. It all adds up. It's a 9 to 5. It really is that people.
Yeah.
A lot of people, I won't say everyone, but a lot of people don't understand that it's literally a 9 to 5. It's just highly paid if you're Jonathan Thurston or someone like that.
Exactly right. And I think that's starting to change a little bit now. Like obviously there's more money coming into the game. I think you're going to see, the minimum wage this year is 130,
which is a lot better than it was about 10 years ago.
Oh man, I think it used to be like 80 or something.
Yeah,
that was
and nurses out earn that.
Yeah. Oh, exactly.
And nurses are underpaid, if anything, as well.
Yeah. No, that's right. But as you said, like you spend those years playing footy and you might earn some good coin during it. And yes, and if you do the right things with it, that's fantastic. But a lot of very few, like 1% of players will earn enough that sort of, money is not an issue for the rest of their life. So, and during those years, those are years where you can go to university and you can do a trade, but it's greatly hampered, you know what I mean? And it's years where I've got mates who started, they were apprentices at 18. Now they're, run their own businesses and they can do that for 40 years. And while you're playing footy, that's time where you don't have the opportunity to grow a career that, will last 40 years as such. So you deserve to be, compensated and young boys.
Of course.
Their hard work, and it is changing now. But as we're saying, like I think outside of that, the people do forget the mental challenges and the life challenges that a lot of footy players have around that. And I think it's everyone wants to be a 15-year 300 gamer on $1 million, but that's not the reality for 95% of football players. So
there's a reason why only like 52, I think, have ever played 300 plus games.
That's exactly right. Yeah, and it's becoming harder and harder. Like, the physicality, the speed of the game. There's a few who can do it. If you look at like a Daly Cherry Evans, someone like that who defies the odds, but it's just becoming harder and harder to play a large number of years, just because of the toll on your body. Yeah, but I think, and outside of that, obviously being a mentally sound and stable and just a good person, I think really has to take precedence over being a good footballer.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, it does. So I've got some quick fire questions and then some final ones to wrap up the chinwag.
Yeah.
First question for quick fire: Apple or Android?
Apple, mate.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm an Apple
Absolutely.
man.
Absolutely. Don't get me wrong, Windows computer, but Apple, when it comes to phones or tablets, like iPads, absolutely go
Yeah,
with Apple.
yeah, yeah.
Favorite movie of all time?
Oh, Heath Ledger, A Knight's Tale.
Oh, good film. That's
Yeah,
a. I
mate.
haven't I haven't thought of that in a while. That's a good
Yeah,
one.
it's my go-to. It's got comedy, bloody romance, it's a drama, it's got everything, and
That's
it's
great.
it's all.
A guilty pleasure, or just you'll tell anyone who wants to know.
Oh man, I'll tell anyone who wants to know.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a great film. That's a
that's
great way to be. Because some
yeah.
people are like, oh, it's a guilty pleasure. No, no. If it, never
No.
let anything be a guilty pleasure. How do you like your steak?
Blue or rare?
Oh, okay, that's interesting. You're the first guest I've ever had that said blue. I've had
Oh,
rare, I've had medium rare, but never blue. So that's interesting.
I'm a blue.
And to pair with that, obviously, what's your drink of choice?
Oh, mate, I'm a Shiraz man.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nice.
yeah,
Love me a
100%.
good
Good,
Shiraz.
good Shiraz. Yeah,
I had a really good Shiraz about a year ago, and I've been looking for it everywhere, like in bottlers and stuff nearby. It's from Gundagai.
oh, yeah.
It's really bloody nice because this going to sound real posh of me, but it's the first time I ever ate posh in years. I went to a nice Italian place and had a veal scallopini, and they
Yeah,
paired it with a Shiraz, and it went so well. And I was just like,
yeah,
fuck. So yeah,
yeah,
it's from Gundagai. I can't remember the actual
yeah,
vineyard's
yeah,
name, but it
yeah,
was
yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
And last question.
Was it dry or sort of more of a fruity Shiraz?
It was more fruity. It was more
Yeah,
fruity for
yeah,
sure.
yeah. I enjoy the fruity ones too.
It was really bloody good.
Yeah.
And last question for quickfire: thongs or Crocs?
Mate, I'm a thong man.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, fair enough. Right now, so we've got one, two, three, four final questions.
Yep.
During your playing career, from juniors through to NRL through to Q Cup, which coach had the biggest impact on the person and player you are today?
Oh, mate, that's a really tough one. I think I probably couldn't, I actually couldn't really nail it down to one. I think I had
Mm-hmm.
different coaches at different stages of my life that probably stand out to me as such.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that'd be really hard. I think, like obviously the one from most recent memory is Adam Bridson at Wynnum. I think he was instrumental for me just because I was in a transitioning period of life. And he was really good around sort of obviously football, football being a game as such,
Mm-hmm.
and life being much more important, I think. So he's one that stands out. But yeah, there's a number of coaches throughout the years at different stages of my life that had major impacts.
That's fair. Obviously, this isn't one of the final questions, but I just thought of it as you were answering that. Sticky, obviously, he's got a bit of a reputation for a bit of a spray. Were
Yeah.
you ever on the end of that? And if not, what's like the worst spray that you've witnessed from Sticky?
Mate, I probably wasn't ever like directly on the end of a spray. I did
Mm-hmm.
cop a couple sort of, I copped a couple liven ups as such, but not a blatant spray. But
Okay.
mate, it's hard. Like how do you split one of sticky sprays? I mean, one of the biggest we ever got actually was
Mm-hmm.
not
Like as a
after
team.
as a team as a
Okay.
whole group.
Yep.
We'd had our Mad Monday, and we'd obviously like he was sort of like, all right, you boys aren't allowed to go to this pub. Like, as you said, like that pub's off limits. No one's allowed to that pub. And of
Okay.
course,
So you all went to that pub.
the first place we went was that pub.
Okay.
So
Okay.
we've come in after our Mad Monday. Nothing, obviously, nothing had sort of gone wrong. It was just that we
No.
were there. So, and we caught one of the biggest, like, yeah, it was probably the biggest spray we've ever copped off of him.
I
Yeah.
love that. He's just like, just don't go to this pub. What did I
Yeah.
fucking do? Oh, I
We're
love
like,
that so much.
it was like our favorite pub. And
Yeah, okay.
it had what you would call like a bit of a seedier reputation.
Gotcha. Okay.
A bit more of a dive, a bit more of a out the back sort of pub,
Gotcha.
and we were sort of, yeah, he's like, you can do anything, but just don't go to this pub. And we were like, well, we're fucking going straight to that pub.
Yeah. Yeah, literally. Absolutely. That's fucking great.
Yeah.
And speaking of the Raiders, while you were there, who was the pest at the Raiders?
Oh, Josh Hodgson. Yeah,
Yeah.
Josh Hodgson, hands down. He was always just something. He was always scheming something, always doing something, but he would never cop the blame for anything. He was always
Oh,
he was a mastermind. He was pulling the strings behind the scenes. Yeah. Yeah.
Gotcha. And which club or player did you hate playing against for whatever reason?
Mm, I don't think I ever had. I don't think I ever really had a player who I sort of.
Mitch Moses. I'm kidding.
um, mate, I'd have to say Jason Tamalolo.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, mate, every time I play, you just couldn't tackle him. Like as a
Okay.
middle, like I
Yep.
just like every time I'm playing the Cowboys, I was just like, oh, like I don't know, like can't tackle him around the legs, you can't go high. Like I was like, I don't know where to tackle this bloke, and
Yeah.
just and he was so I was always like, I was always sort of not afraid, but just like
No, it
annoyed,
was just more of a how
just
the fuck do
annoyed,
I
like
take him down?
what do I do here? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's fair. And you'd probably even do the video session, the week leading up, and you're like, how? I
Yeah,
still don't
and
know.
there's just nowhere. Like he's just the same size and just strong. And I was just like, it just doesn't matter where I go here. I'm just going to end up on my ass. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fair. Did you ever get the better of him? Not necessarily dropping him, but just did you ever manage to
Oh
land a tackle
no,
on him?
definitely not. Never. No, there's very, very few people I ever got the best of, actually.
Fair, fair. But I mean, you can be forgiven for not getting the best of Jason, at least.
Yeah. Cheers, I
Like
appreciate
that's for sure. Um, Obviously, two final questions, and first one of those two is looking back on your career. What's your biggest personal highlight?
it. My biggest personal highlight. It's a hard one. I think I think for me the highlight was probably the how proud my family was of me, during those
Mm.
years. Like I could always tell that when I talked to my mum and my dad, like just sort of how proud they were of me. And when I think back on my career, that's something that I always really, reflect on is, they'd obviously been through the entire journey with me. And there's obviously a lot of great moments during my career that I could, when we played in finals or in front of big crowds and things like that stand out. But I think the thing that means the most to me from my career is probably just how proud my parents were, and just how appreciative they were to see me, chase my dream and achieve it.
That's awesome. Because at the end of the day, all parents want is the best for their kids, and
100%. Yeah.
that's wonderful to hear. And my final question, it was pretty much answered earlier, but what's next for Luke Bateman?
Mate, yeah, as I said, I'm just we talked about earlier, stepping in this sports management role. So the next sort of year, 2, 3 years is very much in the junior space, identifying, good young kids and as I said,
Like
more
coming through Cyril Connell or like
yeah, so
even younger than that sort of thing?
everywhere from sort of 15s onwards. Yeah,
Yep.
15s onwards, and sort of get and trying to help these young fellas out and not just negotiating a contract for them, but
No.
guys mentoring them. Yeah, that's the next bit. And there's a couple other things that I'm working on personally, which are just sort of more personal life things, and I just focusing on that and work and just being a good person, a good son, I suppose, and yeah, and a good employee for Clinton, I guess. Yeah.
Oh yeah, actually that's one question. Which I'll edit this into the when we spoke about the sports management.
Yeah.
So I'll do a click so I know the audio. So obviously you are now employed by Clinton rather than coached by him back in the day.
Yeah.
How is that adjustment gone?
Man, it's
How's that
probably
been?
I don't think the relationship with the dynamic has changed too much as such.
Okay.
Yeah, me and him get along. We get along awesome, mate. It's just like going to work with you with a mate, which makes every day really enjoyable.
Yep.
And I think but it's still very much the same in terms of coaching. Like he'll sort of always like every day, like during something will happen or there'll be communication and emails and texts, and he'll sort of get me across it all and sort of just give me tips and so say, oh mate, this is sort of how I'd play it from our end, and this is sort of the situation and everything. So the coaching dynamic of it hasn't actually changed too much. It's just about sort of management now instead of
Yeah.
and playing football. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Awesome. Well, that about wraps up the episode. I want to thank you very much for joining me. And I'd love to get
Oh,
you on again at some point, maybe in the next year or two to, see how you're traveling with sports management.
mate, 100% CJ. No, I've really appreciated the chat, mate. Thank you very much for having me on.